I wish I could say that. It's probably copyright. Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all keeping very well out there, and I hope that you're ready to bake something a little bit different this week. As you can tell from the name of this, we're going to be baking cornbread, which is super exciting, and we're going to get onto cornbread. And don't worry, we are going to get onto cornbread in a little bit, but for now let's talk about what we're going to bake this cornbread in, and that is a cast iron skillet, which is these. I've got two as a little example here. If you want more, I'll just go and open Sam's drawer because they are like bursting with cast iron. So this is what you want to be baking your cornbread in, and if you don't have one but you want one, you can get these pretty cheap, which is one of the best things about cast iron, is that you do not need to be spending loads. You could pop online now and find something for like 15 to 20 pounds, and that is going to do you absolutely perfectly. If you want to spend a little bit more, just like Sam has, you can get yourself something a little bit fancier, but there's really no need. When you buy your cast iron skillet, it's probably going to look a little bit like this. As you can see, it's kind of rough inside, very kind of knobbly, and that's a-okay. That is how they are. The thing about this one here is it's been ground down so it's nice and smooth, but the idea is that your cast iron skillet is going to go from this to this over time, and you don't really need to do all that much. So why should you go out and buy one of these? Well, they're indestructible is the first point. Like, you could chuck this around your kitchen, you could drop it on the floor, you'll probably break your floor, but I don't really care. I just want you to have a nice sturdy pan. Don't tell your mum that, don't drop it on her floor, she'll probably sue me. But what else? Okay, so when you bake these, look how heavy it is. Like, it is like super heavy, which means it's going to hold its heat so well. This whole thing is going to get incredibly hot, and that means you're going to get this amazing crispy outer to whatever it is that you're cooking in it. And you can basically cook anything in these. Sam's always cooking on them, and if you want to see what he does, he's always posting these on his Instagram account. But we're going to be baking in them because you can do all sorts. So I'm going to be doing cornbread, but if you want to see some other things, then let me know. Things like skillet cookies, we've done one on the channel, but I'd love to do some other ones. Dutch babies, even a tarte tatin is what you can make in these. So let's get on with our cornbread, shall we? Which we're going to do over here. But before we do that, we're just going to pop this into the oven, because what you want to do with these is warm them up before you bake in it, because as I said, they are really hefty, so they're going to take a little bit of time to get warm. So you don't really want to put like your cold batter into a cold pan into the hot oven. Like, you want to get this nice and warm. So let's just head on over to the oven here. So my oven is off, or Sam's oven is off. We're going to put in our pan here, and then I'm going to turn it on, and this is going to gradually heat the pan as the oven gets hot. So what we want to do first, how do we do this? We want to turn our oven to 200, which is not what we're going to bake in, but you'll see why a little bit later. So I'm going to leave that in there, and now let's get on with making our cornbread batter. So, cornbread. Now, I'm obviously not from America, and I'm not going to stand here and pretend that I know everything about cornbread, because there's kind of like debates between southern and northern cornbreads. This is my cornbread recipe. I absolutely love it. I've been baking it for a few years now, and it is fab. So I think you should bake this. And we're going to start with some eggs. So we've got 3 eggs here, which I'm just going to crack into this bowl. This is such an easy, quick recipe. I love to make this for breakfast, and you just need to kind of get up an hour before you want to eat it so that you've got time to bake it and let it cool down. So the first thing we're going to do is just whisk these up. So all we're doing there is breaking these eggs up, and then we're going to mix in 2 cups or 500 mils of buttermilk. So buttermilk you can generally buy from the store here, but if you want to make your own, you just need some whole milk and some lemon juice. I'll put a link in the description box for a full-on recipe for that. So we're going to pop that in here, and again just whisk it to combine. And once the buttermilk's combined, we're going to pour in 90 grams of unsalted butter, which I've melted, and I just let it cool down so that it's not going in piping hot. And again, we're just whisking to combine, not kind of whipping, creating any kind of texture. Next up, dry ingredients. So I'm going to start with sugar. Now, if you want a completely traditional cornbread, I believe that they didn't put sugar in it, but you know me, I can't not put sugar in things. So in I go with my, again, 90 grams of caster sugar, but any kind of sugar we're probably doing this. But also I'm gonna pop in 2 tablespoons of honey. So again, kind of optional, but I recommend it because I love the taste of honey, and you want to buy something that is a little bit kind of interesting, not just your cheapest off the shelf kind of honey. And again, let's stir these in. My favorite way to eat cornbread is also with honey on top. So if I can get honey in it and on top, winning. All right, next up, we're gonna go with our cornmeal. So this is cornmeal here. I've gone for a coarse cornmeal, but you can get it finer than this as well, but I do like the texture that you get from a slightly thicker one, and this can feel a little bit tricky to find. I actually find this in pretty much most superstores in the UK. There's like kind of an international aisle, isn't there? Like World Foods, I think they call it. You can find it there, it's really cheap. So we're just gonna chuck in 250 grams of our cornmeal along with some salt. So I'm gonna go for 1.5 teaspoons of salt. If you've got unsalted butter, then maybe just kind of 1/2 teaspoon extra. And then we've got some raising agent. So I've got 2 teaspoons of baking powder and 1 teaspoon of bicarb. I'm actually just gonna pop those through my sieve because sometimes bicarb can be a little bit lumpy. And then we're just gonna whisk these through. Actually, do you know what? I'm gonna take my whisk out and I'm gonna go for Mr. Spoon over here, my trusty friend, and I'm just gonna fold this in. And look at that color, I love the color of this, it's beautiful. And then the last thing we're gonna add in is a little bit of plain flour. So again, I've got 250 grams, I'm gonna sift this in. Always sift your dry ingredients. It can be kind of lumpy, and you never know, you might find something weird in there. Never have. And again, we're just gonna fold this through. So the reason I'm putting this in right at the very end is because I don't wanna overwork the gluten. I don't want this to be like uber chewy cornbread. Nobody wants that. So just folding it nice and gently until it's all combined. Lovely stuff. Now before we bake this, what we're gonna do is take this little knob of butter over to our pan, which is now really hot in our very hot 200-degree oven. And we're gonna pull our pan out ever so carefully. Please do not grab the handle because it's obviously just as hot as the pan. In goes our butter. We're gonna let that get hot. You can give it a little swill around, and we'll chuck that back in. And what that's gonna do is just gonna make sure we get really delicious crispy outside to our cornbread, but also it's gonna make the pan a little bit non-stick. Now with cast iron, the more you use it and the more you look after it, it will naturally become a non-stick pan, which is another fab reason for getting yourself one. But that all comes from kind of seasoning your pan and how you look after it in between kind of using it. And it's pretty easy, but there is a kind of recipe to it. And if you do want to know how to do that, then give my comment in the comments box below a thumbs up, and we'll film a really quick video on how to get your pan set up and how to look after it in between you use it. Anyway, let's just give this 2 minutes to get nice and hot and golden. Okay, let's grab back our pan with our really hot butter in it. Already smelling amazing. And as you can see, the butter's started to brown. You've got a few bits and nuggets of lovely burnt butter in there. So you can swirl it around a bit. And also if you wanted to grab a pastry brush and just kind of rub it up the sides a little bit, then do by all means go ahead and do that. And now all we need to do is pour in this batter. I say pour, it's not super poury. So let's get all of this in. You can already hear it sizzling as it hits that butter. Let's just give this bowl a proper scrape out. Try and do this as quickly as you can. but as carefully as you can. That's probably more important. And you can give it a little spread out. But this is one of those things that it's not going to be perfect. I mean, it is going to be perfect, but it's not going to look super clean. Right, off we go. Too much chat. Let's get this back in the oven. So the first thing what we're going to do once it's in is we're going to drop the temperature to 180. So don't forget to do that. And then we're going to leave it in for somewhere between 30 and 35 minutes until it is really lovely and crisp on top. If you put a skewer or a knife in the middle, it'll come out clean. 4, if you want, 3, 2, 1. Oh, it smells absolutely incredible. Oh, hello, look at this. Oh my gosh, just look at the color of it. I love it when it cracks. This is one of those things that if it cracks, who cares, man? It's all about how it tastes. So let's just check that this is done. So we'll put this little knife in, comes out nice and clean. It is ready. So mine was actually in for 40 minutes because this is quite a big pan. This is a 10-inch, I believe. I'll give you a smaller quantity for like maybe an 8-inch pan in the description box below as well. Anyway, we've got to let this cool down for, I'm gonna say 15 to 20 minutes just to take that kind of scorching heat off it. I really love to eat this warm. If you're baking it ahead of time, you can always reheat it in the oven, or you can even like cut little bits and put it in the toaster to toast it as well. So let's just let this cool down. I might just stand here and sniff it for 20 minutes. Oh, that has been a torturous 20 minutes of just standing here sniffing. I'm gonna crack this. Oh, that crispy top. Oh yes. And yes, Sam did give me permission to use a knife in this pan. Like I said, these pans are indestructible. Okay. It's lovely and non-stick. It's coming away from the edge. Come on, you. Look at this. Oh, yes. Look at that texture. It's perfectly baked all the way through. And it's such a beautiful color as well. Now, before I shove that in my gob, I'm going to spread on some butter, and it's still warm, so it's gonna melt. And I love a good old chunk of butter. And also honey. This is such a great combination. I'm gonna pour that. Oh my gosh. That looks so good. And now, I didn't get a fork. I was just gonna pick it up and shove it in. Yummy, texture is perfect. Kind of chewy, but kind of crumbly. My favorite bit is this crispy bit here. And the corn flavor is really, really strong. And even though we put that sugar in with the honey, it's not like a sweet kind of bread. It's still a very, very savory bread, but the sweetness just kind of lifts it a little bit. Oh, it's delicious. It's so good. So please have a go at this. Maybe you've made a cornbread before. Give this one a go and let me know what you think. If you want to see the other style cornbread as well, with the kind of creamed corn in it, I've never actually made it, but I'd love to give it a go, so do let me know. And remember, if you want to have that little kind of lesson on how to look after your skillet, your cast iron skillet, then just go to the comment below that I've made and give it a thumbs up, or let me know what you think, and we'll make sure that we get that video up for you. Because like I mentioned a few weeks ago, we are working on a kind of skillet series, so we're going to bring you some other recipes that you can make in one of these. So if you want to go out and get yourself one of the cast iron skillets, do that now. We'll let you know how to get it ready to use, and then we'll be piling on the videos for you guys. Like I said before, the Dutch baby, which is kind of like a breakfasty pancake thing. Really, really easy, very fun way of making breakfast. Like another skillet cookie. So we did the regular one, but maybe we'll do a blondie version. I know Dane's been working on one of those and it's absolutely delicious as well. And then we can step things up to the kind of tart tatin level, because that is such a great dessert. And it's kind of one of those things that seems really scary because people talk about how hard it is, but if you've got all the tips that we'll give you, you'll bake the perfect tart tatin. But who cares about that for now? Get on with this cornbread. You can eat it like this, or like I said, you can put it in the toaster or in the oven to warm up. And then you can do the honey and the butter, or what I love to do, which I'm about to get Sam to make for me, is some spicy scrambled eggs with this. That's the first time I made this, was to have with scrambled eggs, and it really is a great combination. So I love this for breakfast, but you can also have it as an accompaniment to like chili con carne or something. Whatever you want to do with it, give it a go. It's delicious. And we'll see you next week with another recipe, and then we'll be back with some more skillet recipes for you guys. So we'll see you really soon. Bye-bye. I am gonna just do this.